How do you defeat an army that has never lost a battle? You don't fight them on their terms. You build a trap. And on a wide, dusty plain in ancient Persia, King Darius III was about to spring his. In 331 BCE, in the plains of Gaugamela, the final, epic showdown between Alexander the Great and King Darius III. Darius had chosen this ground carefully. He had the land flattened and cleared, creating the perfect arena for his greatest advantages, his scythed chariots, and his overwhelming numbers of cavalry. He had gathered warriors from every corner of his vast empire, from India to Scythia, determined to crush the Macedonian invader once and for all. This was a trap. The night before the clash, the Persian camp was a sea of campfires, the noise of a vast army echoing for miles. Alexander's most experienced general, Parmenion, saw the risk. He urged Alexander to launch a surprise night attack, but Alexander refused, with one of the most famous lines in history.
"I will not steal my victory."
He was so confident that he reportedly slept soundly until morning, a calm eye in the center of a historical storm. As the sun rose, the sheer scale of the Persian army was revealed. Outnumbered, Alexander knew a direct assault would be suicide, but he had a plan for Darius's superweapon. As the scythed chariots thundered towards his lines, he had his infantry open their ranks at the last second, creating channels for the chariots to pass harmlessly through. As they did, soldiers on the sides hurled javelins at the horses and drivers, turning a terrifying weapon into a tactical failure before it could even reach his main line. With the chariot threat neutralized, Alexander did something completely unexpected. He arranged his army in a strange, almost rectangular formation and began to march not towards the enemy, but diagonally to the right. This bizarre maneuver baffled the Persian commanders. As Alexander kept moving rightward, he threatened to leave Darius's specially prepared battlefield entirely. Panicked that his trap was being outmaneuvered, Darius ordered his cavalry on the left flank to ride out and stop Alexander's advance. This was the moment Alexander had been waiting for. As the Persian cavalry charged forward, their own battle line stretched thin, opening a small gap near the center. This was the fleeting opportunity Alexander needed. Alexander immediately wheeled his elite companion cavalry into a wedge formation, and like a spearhead, he charged directly into that gap, aiming straight for Darius himself. For the second time, Darius saw Alexander's cavalry crashing through his elite guard, a storm of metal and fury closing in on his personal chariot. And for the second time, the King of Kings panicked and fled the battlefield. His flight shattered the morale of the Persian center and left flank, which quickly collapsed. But the battle was far from over. On the Macedonian left, the old general Parmenion was on the verge of being completely overwhelmed. A message reached Alexander: "Come back, or the army will be destroyed." Faced with a gut-wrenching choice, pursue Darius and end the war, or save his men, Alexander chose his soldiers. He wheeled his cavalry around and smashed into the Persian right wing, saving Parmenion's flank and securing one of the most decisive victories in military history. With Darius a fugitive, the Persian Empire was his. The ancient city of Babylon opened its gates, hailing him not as a conqueror, but as a liberator and the new king of Asia. Here, he showed his genius was not just for war, but for rule. He ordered his troops not to plunder the city, made sacrifices to Babylon's chief god Marduk, and ordered the rebuilding of the temples the Persians had destroyed. It was a masterful political move, winning the hearts of his new subjects and signaling his intention to rule the empire, not just break it. But the road from Babylon to the heart of Persia was not undefended. Alexander had to force his way through the Persian gates, a narrow, treacherous mountain pass defended by a small, fanatically loyal Persian army. For a month, the Macedonians were held back by a hail of rocks and arrows from the cliffs above. It was a bloody, frustrating stalemate. Legend says that, just like the Spartans at Thermopylae centuries before, Alexander was shown a hidden mountain path by a local shepherd. He led a small force on a perilous night march, outflanked the defenders, and crushed the last Persian army in the field. From there, he marched to the ceremonial heart of the empire, the grand city of Persepolis. Here, he seized a treasury of such unimaginable wealth that it took thousands of mules and camels just to haul it away. The treasure was reportedly worth more than all the wealth in Europe combined, enough to finance his armies for years to come. But then, something happened that is still debated by historians to this day. The great palace of Persepolis, one of the wonders of the ancient world, was burned to the ground. Some say it was a cold, calculated act of state policy, a symbolic revenge for the Persian burning of Athens 150 years earlier, but legend tells a different story. It says that during a wild victory banquet, an Athenian courtesan named Phaeus dared Alexander to let her be the one to avenge Greece. In a drunken fervor, Alexander and his companions supposedly grabbed torches and led a procession to the palace, setting the magnificent halls ablaze. Whatever the cause, the burning of Persepolis marked a turning point. For many of Alexander's Macedonian soldiers, the war was over. It was time to go home. But as Alexander's ambition pushed him ever eastward, a dangerous rift began to grow. And soon, it would be paid for in blood. A plot against Alexander's life was uncovered, and the man accused of failing to report it was Philotas, a senior commander and son of the most powerful man in the army, the 70-year-old general Parmenion. Philotas was tortured, confessed, and executed. But Alexander's paranoia didn't end there. Fearing the powerful father would surely avenge his son, he made a ruthless calculation. He sent assassins to ride ahead of the news, who found the old general in his tent and murdered him without a trial. It was a shocking act. Alexander had killed his father's most trusted general, a loyal titan of the Macedonian army, out of pure suspicion. The war for the Persian Empire was over, but the hunt for its king was just beginning. Subscribe to Tales Lost in Time to see what happens when Alexander plunges his army into the unknown east, pursuing a single man across a vast and hostile continent, a hunt that will test the loyalty of his men and the limits of his own ambition.